Hello, and welcome to another N.E.S.T reading session. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all doing okay. Today we are going to be reading a book called The Hike, and as usual I will put the link to all of our reading resources in the description below this video, so you can have access to all of them if you want to jump between videos. That'll really help, and so you won't have to keep scrambling for any books or anything. It's all just in one place. So today, as I said, we are reading The Hike, and it looks like this. So I'll just do what I usually do. I will read a couple of pages, go back and see if there are any tricky words that I should probably explain. So let's get started. The Hike. So we'll start here. First page, that's what it looks like. Mandy was lucky, as she and her mother lived with her grandparents, and she liked nothing better to spend time with her grandfather. You see, he was always making something, and she enjoyed watching, learning, and sometimes even helping him finish whatever he was doing. Next page. Grandfather, what are you building in your workshop today? Mandy asked. She giggled as she said, "It looks like you're playing with two long sticks." "Well, Mandy," he said, "I'm going to make two walking sticks, with your help, one for you and one for me. Then I have a surprise." "All right," Mandy shrieked. "Where do I start?" After some time, Mandy, with her grandfather's help, finished the walking sticks. They were two of the most beautiful walking sticks she had ever seen. So let's just go back to the previous page. But before anything else, I think I should probably explain what hike is, since it's the title of the book. So a hike is a very long walk. So people go on hikes, through up mountains, through forests. People set out to go on a very, very, very long walk. And people do it to get fit. They do it to be with nature, that kind of thing. So that's what Mandy and her grandfather are going to do. They're going to go on a really long walk, otherwise known as a hike. Then on that first page we have the word grandparents. I imagine a lot of you will have heard this word before, but I'll just explain it. So grandparents are the parents of your parents. So let's take my family for example. My mum, or my mother's mother and father, are my grandma and granddad, or grandmother and grandfather, and my father, his mother and father, are also my grandma and granddad, or grandmother and grandfather. So grandparents are literally just the parents of your parents. And like I say, they can be either grandmother or grandfather. So male is grandfather, female is grandmother. And she enjoyed learning. And so learning is when you kind of acquire knowledge, you get knowledge from watching someone else, or from studying something, or from being taught. And this is how Mandy's acquiring her knowledge. She is learning by watching her grandfather in his workshop. So that's what learning means. So you're acquiring or getting knowledge or skills through study or experience or being taught. And It says on the second page that we read, the word workshop. So Mandy says, "Grandfather, what are you building in your workshop today?" So a workshop is, a room or a building in which things are manufactured or repaired. So in Mandy's grandfather's workshop, he makes things, and that's what manufactured means. Manufactured means things are being made. So in Mandy's grandfather's workshop, things are being made, not necessarily repaired, but that's what it can be. A workshop can be a big room or a big building in which goods and things, objects, different things are being made or repaired. And then the word giggled is also on that page. She giggled as she said, it looks like you're playing with two long sticks. So giggled is like a light laugh, kind of like if I could do an example, it's like a that's kind of like a giggle. So it's not a full laugh, but it's like a little laugh. It's like a little quiet, high pitched kind of silly laugh. And then further down that page it says, "All right," Mandy shrieked, "where do I start?" So the word shrieked. Shrieked is a high-pitched kind of sound or word, and it's usually used when somebody's scared or in pain or excited. In this case, Mandy's excited. So Mandy's shrieking in kind of a very high-pitched tone in order to show her excitement. That's what shrieking is, a high-pitched tone or sound or words, especially as an expression of terror, pain, or excitement. And then I think that's that for those two pages. So we'll start on this page here. With the bark removed, they were sanded smooth, and each had a funny-looking face carved into them. "These are really nice," Mandy said, "but just what do we do with them?" "Ah, that is a surprise, granddaughter," he replied. "Tomorrow morning we are going on a hike and in the woods, and these walking sticks will help make the hike easier. So now it's time to clean up and go to sleep, so we are well rested for the hike." Next page. The next morning Mandy did not need an alarm to wake her. She was up, dressed, and ready to go as the sun rose and the day began. She went to the kitchen and saw that her grandfather was busy packing sandwiches, water, snacks, and other items into their backpacks. "It looks like we are going to be hiking for a long time," Mandy said. Okay, so we'll go back to the other page. Okay, so we have the word bark in that first sentence. You might have heard it used in a couple of ways. Dogs bark. The sound that dogs make is like a bark, but in this context, where we are talking about the bark on trees, because they are using wood to make these walking sticks, and wood comes from trees, and the bark is like the tough outer part of the tree or branch or twig. It's the brown bit that you see, that's the bark, and it protects the tree. So it's the outer brown part, and that's what they've used to make their walking sticks. I've just got to say, on this page in particular, there are a lot of places where there should be spaces, and that makes it really difficult to read. So if you're struggling to read it because some of the words are all put together instead of where there should be a space, don't worry, it was hard for me too. So just to give you an example, you see here, that should be three separate words, and there are no spaces, so it's three separate words have been smushed together to make one big word, and that's not right. So I'm just telling you, like, that's just not the way it should be. That should just be sanded, smooth, and not sanded, smooth, and sanded, smooth, and then another example of that would be the next word here. It says each had, and that it should be two separate words, each had. Same with here, these are, two separate words, these are. Sorry. And another example, that should be do we, two separate words, not like thou, it's do we. And then underneath that, sorry, there's a few, but I think I should just point them out just in case you just come across them. Here, I don't know if you can see there, surprise granddaughter. Two words, two separate words, surprise granddaughter. And another one under there, it says here, tomorrow morning. That's what it should say. Two separate words, tomorrow morning. And I think there's one more, two more here. These are all on the same page, by the way. Here, and these, two separate words. And finally, oh, you can't see that one. How weird. And go, two separate words. So just in case you start getting confused about, oh, I've never seen this word in my life, it's not a word. It's lots of different words put together. So getting back on with the words, we've done bark. So underneath that, the word sanded. Sanded means that you get a piece of sandpaper. So if you don't know what sandpaper is, it's like paper but really, really rough. And if you sand something, if you brush it with something and like rub it on something, it makes it smooth and shiny. And that's what they've done here. So that's what sanded means. You use sandpaper to make something really smooth and soft and shiny. And then we have the word carved. So each had a funny looking face carved into them. Carved is when you cut or engrave something to produce an object, design, or inscription. So you get something sharp maybe, and then you you get something sharp and you kind of make some kind of picture in something. It could be words, it could be a picture, it could be an object, it could be a face like Mandy and her grandfather have done. And you kind of just cut out that shape, and that's what they mean by carved. And then we have the word rested, so that's at the very bottom of that page. So we are well rested for the hike. And so that's when you just stop work, you stop moving, you need to relax, you need to sleep, you need to recover your strength. That's what rested means. So it would be no good if they worked all through the night and then went on the hike the next morning. They'd be knackered, they'd be so tired. That's what they're doing. They're resting to recover their energy, to recover their strength, to, relax. Now, the next page that we read, Mandy did not need an alarm to wake her. An alarm, I'm sure you all use alarms. I certainly need to use an alarm. It's when you can set it on your phone, or you can set it on your alarm clock. And basically you choose a time for a really, really loud noise to go off and it wakes you up, just so you don't sleep in. Then we have the word backpack further down that page. Grandfather was busy packing sandwiches, water, snacks and other items into their backpacks. So a backpack is a bag that's carried on a person's back. So that's a backpack. It's a bag that's carried on a person's back. And if you quickly look to the next page, there's a picture of it there. So it's like that bag is going to be over their shoulders and carried on their back. So we'll move on to that page now. So this one. It will be an all-day hike, he replied. I think we have everything, so grab your walking stick and let's go. What about breakfast? Mandy asked. Oh, did I forget to mention that we are going to stop and have breakfast at a diner? He said with a smile. Their journey began. Next page. After a great breakfast and a long drive, they arrived at the base of the mountain and the beginning of the trail. This is beautiful, Mandy said. Just where are we hiking? To the very top of the mountain, where we will have lunch, rest, and maybe take a swim. And then hike back down, he replied. Swim, Mandy said excitedly. Is there a lake on top of the mountain? Yes, her grandfather replied. So just back to that previous page there. We have the word breakfast. I'm sure we all like to have breakfast. It's the first meal of the day. So it's eaten in the morning. You might have cereal, you might have toast, you might have a bacon sandwich, just whatever you fancy, and that's the first meal of the day when you wake up. That's breakfast. And they're having in a diner. So a diner is like a small roadside restaurant where, like, if you're on a journey, you kind of just stop off if you're hungry, get some coffee, get some food. You see them quite a lot in films and TV shows, I think. I've never been to one. But yeah, just stop off at this small roadside restaurant for breakfast. And then their journey began. So the journey means that you're traveling from one place to another. That's all it is. It doesn't matter if it's, from here to town or from here to America. Like, they're all journeys. It doesn't matter the length. So it's just you're moving from one place to another. Next page. So they arrived at the base of the mountain. And so the base is like the lowest part of the mountain. So if you've got your mountain like this, the base is here. It's the very, very low part. So they haven't actually started climbing yet. It's just the very, very lowest part. And that's where they've started. And then we have the word lake. So it's like a body of water. It's like a place where water collects, and it's made naturally, usually, or it can be made artificially if humans want to do that. But in this case, I think it'll probably be made naturally, just naturally occurring. And it's just where a big place where water is, basically a big body of water. Now we're moving on to the next page. There was a pond surrounded by big flat rocks. It was carved from the mountain during the last ice age and is filled with clear, cold water. Wow, was all Mandy could say. As they hiked up the mountain, Mandy asked many, many questions. What kind of tree is that? How high are we? Are there bears around here? Are there any other people up here? What do we do if we get lost? Are there snakes? And of course, are we there yet? Next page. Her grandfather answered all her questions the best he could and explained that they were in a very natural area. Not many people, all sorts of wildlife, even bears. He helped her understand and respect the natural beauty around them, particularly the animals. He taught her how to use a compass and things to help them be safer while they hiked. Back to the previous page. We have the word pond again. It's just a small body of water that can be made naturally, artificially. You might see ducks on it or something. Then we have the word natural. So I have used the word natural quite a lot there, but it means it's existing or has come from nature. Humans have had no interference in that whatsoever. So it's not made by humans, it's not caused by humans, it's just naturally there without humans having to step in. That's what natural means. And then we go on to this page. We have the word respect about halfway down the page. So not many people, all sorts of wildlife, even bears. He helped her understand and respect the natural beauty around them. So respect, he taught her how to like admire the natural beauty around them and to treat it well, not to, you know, take advantage, not to treat the trees and the animals badly, but to treat them nicely, treat them with respect, treat them with admiration. That's what respect is. And then he taught her how to use a compass. Okay, so a compass is an object and it has a magnetized pointer in it which shows you the direction of north, and then therefore it can show you the direction of east, south and west as well. So you see a lot of explorers using them, and it's just like a little instrument that sits in the palm of your hand, kind of. And if you just lay it flat, it'll show you where north is, and then you can kind of figure out where east and west and south are as well. And so can kind of help them if they get lost because they know where they need to go. They might be like, oh, the car's back south, so you just follow the compass to south. That's what it is. You should, if you have a smartphone, there should be a compass on your smartphone. Yeah, that's what that is. Okay, next page. Like before stepping over a log, put your walking stick on the other side, so let any animal, like a snake, know you are there. Whistle a song or make some noise to let the bigger animals know you are in their area. In a soft voice, her grandfather said, Mandy, there are a few things to remember when you are hiking, or anywhere for that matter. The earth is our mother. Take care of her. All life is sacred. Treat all life with respect. Take from the earth what is needed and nothing more. Enjoy your journey, but leave no tracks. Next page. As they hiked a little farther, the forest opened and Mandy saw the pond surrounded by large flat rocks. They had arrived, and it was almost like being in a different world. Mandy picked a large rock that extended out into the water for them to rest on. It had been warmed by the sun and was perfect. It was a perfect place for lunch. Okay. Perfect. Then we have the word whistle. So it says, whistle a song or make some noise to let the bigger animals know you are in their area. So whistle is like a high-pitched sound that's made by forcing breath through your lips like this. I'm not a very good whistler, but you get the point. I'm not very good, but that's a whistle. And so that's what they're saying, just to warn the bigger animals that you're in their area, make them aware that you are there, and just keep whistling. And then further down that page, the grandfather says, all life is sacred. Sacred, it can have religious connotations, but I think in this context he means like it's really valuable. So you shouldn't interfere with it. You should respect it. That's what he means. So it's sacred. Don't interfere. Don't mess with it. Just leave it alone. It's too valuable. It's worth too much to us. Then on the next page, Mandy picked a large rock that extended out into the water for them to rest on. Extended means that you're going from a central point out to cover a wider area. So it's a rock that went from the path on which they were on further out into the water than the others. So that's what it means. It kind of goes further out, further away. It's like a long rock. Next page. As her grandfather unpacked their food, she leaned over and wiggled her fingers in the cold water. Immediately, several small fish came by and nibbled at her fingers. She shrieked in surprise, and then, realizing the fish were just curious, placed her hand back into the water and watched as the fish darted around her fingers. She laughed and played with the fish until she heard her grandfather say, "Time for lunch." Next page. After lunch and a resting period, they took a swim. The water was deep and Mandy couldn't reach the bottom, no matter how hard she tried. She giggled each time a curious fish nibbled at her body and watched a deer come down to have a drink. It was a wonderful day, and she was saddened when she heard her grandfather say, "Mandy, it's time to dry off and begin the hike down to the car." After making sure everything was just like it was when they arrived, they began to hike down the mountain. Okay, that previous page there, the word wiggled. So she's putting her, if you look at the picture, she's putting her hand into the water and she's doing this with her fingers, and that's what wiggling is. So you move up and down and side to side, and with small rapid movements. So that's what she's doing in the water to try and like interact with the fish. That's what wiggle means. And then shortly after that, we have the word immediately, and immediately means instant, straight away, no messing about, just in that same moment, straight away. So as soon as she put her hands into the water and started wiggling them, immediately, straight away, the fish came over and started nibbling. And a nibble is when you just take like a really small bite out of something. So like a really tiny, just a really tiny bite, yeah. Then the page after that, we have the word curious. So she giggled each time a curious fish nibbled at her body and watched a deer come down to have a drink. So the word curious is when you're eager to learn or to know something, and that's how they're describing these fish, because they're really curious about Mandy. They really want to know what Mandy's all about. They want to know maybe what she tastes like if they're nibbling at her body. So that's what curious means. They're really eager to learn or to know something, and the author is talking about the fish in this context. Awesome. Then we have the word deep. So the water was deep and Mandy couldn't reach the bottom no matter how hard she tried. So deep is when you extend down far from the surface. So if it was shallow, it would only be a little bit of water that might go to your knees, let's say. But with it being deep, Mandy can't stand up in it, so it must be a few meters high. And that's what deep means. Like it extends from the surface of the water, right, like quite a way down. I also found darted before. Oh, there it is. So sorry, we're going back a page to this page. I knew I'd missed a word. The word darted. So the fish darted around your fingers, and that means they're moving really suddenly and rapidly. So if this is a fake, she's kind of doing this. That's darting. They're moving suddenly, they're moving quickly, they're moving in different directions. That's what darted means. And then I'm sorry, we're back to this page. I'll show you just because you must be getting confused. The word saddened. So she was made to feel sad. So she didn't want to leave. The grandfather was saying, Mandy, it's time to dry off and begin to hike back down to the car. And that made her really sad because she didn't want to leave. So saddened means that you are made to feel sad. Now we are on this page. After a short time, Mandy asked, Grandfather, can we take a different trail down the mountain? I don't see why not, he replied. After a short time, the trail began blending into the surrounding brush and then disappeared. I'm scared, Mandy said. I think we are lost. No, we're not lost, her grandfather said, but we aren't on a trail, so we will have to continue hiking down the mountain in the direction of the car. Just enjoy the surroundings and being together on our first hiking adventure. Next page. As they continued down, Mandy said, Grandfather, I have a problem at school and I don't know who to talk to. Talk to me, he said. I'd like to, but you're my grandfather and you may get angry because you are family and not, well, like a friend. Now Mandy's grandfather had to do some serious thinking. After all, she was right, that as her grandfather he may get angry or his feelings hurt, but she needed a big person as a friend. Mandy, he said in a serious tone. Okay, so back to the previous page, we had the word blended. So the trail, Right, so yeah, the trail began blending into the surrounding brush and then disappeared. So that's when two things merge together and it's really not easy to tell them apart. So if two things are blending, they are coming together, they are merging together, and they are difficult to distinguish between, they are difficult to tell them apart. And that's what's happening between the brush and the trail. And then at the end of this page here, we have the word serious. So serious, so this means it's sincere, they're not joking, he's not joking, he's not half-hearted, he's being deadly serious, he's being sincere, like he really wants Mandy to know that he means it. He's not joking, he's not saying it half-heartedly, he's saying it because he really means it. Right, now we're on to this page. If I were to promise that anything we talked about would stay between us, and that I would not get angry or talk to you as your grandfather, but rather as an old friend, would you talk with me? Is that a promise? She asked. Yes, he said softly. And you know, I have never broken a promise to you. She gave him a big hug and began to talk. Soon they were at the bottom of the mountain and packing the car. Next page and final page. Before leaving, her grandfather thought for a minute and said, Granddaughter, any time you need me as your friend and not your grandfather, pick up your walking stick and ask to go on a hike. It will be our secret code. This was the best day ever, Mandy said. I was with my grandfather, my new best friend, and I have a talking walking stick. So there was just one word that I found in those last two pages, and that was code. So on that very last page, it says, it will be our secret code. So it's like a concept used to represent something in an indirect way. That's a mouthful. So it's a concept used to represent something in an indirect way. So by Mandy picking up the walking stick, she is conveying to her grandfather that she wants to talk, that she wants to go on a hike and talk about her feelings. And that's what the code is. So you're doing something to give the message of something that's different, if you know what I mean. So picking up a walking stick, it's not just saying to a granddad, I want to go on a hike. It's saying, I want to go on a hike and actually talk to you like a friend instead of a grandfather. So that's that. that's the end of that book. That was quite a good book. It was quite a long one. Thank you everyone who was watching today. It means a lot. I hope you're all doing well. And I'll see you all for the next one. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.